It's time for the State of Pro Wrestling, scheduled for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. And now, from parts unknown, your tag team champions of the world, John Orlando for the PVD cast and Gerald Glassford from the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Ding, ding, ding! And we're back for another amazing adventure into the ring, into the world of pro wrestling. It is a state of pro wrestling. It is Gerald Glassford along with my tag team partner extraordinaire. Go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the PVD cast. And also, there you go. Yep, absolutely. Flex those 19-inch pythons right there. There you go. Absolutely. It is, of course, my tag team partner in crime here on the show, the PVD cast, which celebrated their 500th episode. Congratulations to you, my friend.
All right.
Thank you. It is also... Go on. I just want to give you a full... Let me give you a full introduction. See, there's already heat between us already. I see a betrayal on the next episode. It is, of course, John Orlando. John, great to have you here. Also, of course, don't forget Matt Talk as well. Also, watch your back if I have a chair in my hand. My friend, it is great to have you back, and congratulations on 500 episodes.
Thank you. I really, this is not a joke. This is not a shtick, but I'm really blown away by it. You know, like I said, I started it almost 13 years ago, doing one episode at a month for a while, and then got 2 episodes a month and did that for a long time, and then 3 episodes. So it's been a work in progress. I'm proud of it. I really am. I'm, also, very proud of what I do with Matt Talk as well. It's been great. I don't know what more to say, to be honest, Gerald, but thank you to everyone who sent over well wishes and congrats and whatnot. I really do appreciate it. And we're going to move on to the next 500.
Absolutely. And it's at this moment, I come up from behind and hit you with the chair. He was always stealing my thunder. I was always the guy that was carrying the team, etc., etc. Wrestling cliche that you've heard 100 times before. There you go. But it seems to work a lot of times, even though they just rehash it every single time. Right there when you talk about a tag team splitting up. But this tag will reform as a babyface tag team come together when we try to get attacked by the evil corporation, whichever that may be. Yes, so we'll have to be forced back together. Like some recent tag teams have had to be forced back together in AEW. And yeah, I got to do a show on AEW in full. We got to just one of these days just sit down, record an entire episode on AEW, your opinions on it, and if you think something's wrong, how can it be fixed? Yeah, something we definitely got to go ahead and do sometime in the near future. But for now, it is the state of pro wrestling for October and November. We're going to get into it, and we're going to start off with John Cena. And I understand John Cena's last match will be in December, but we're counting down. We're less than 5 as of this recording right now. 5 matches or / appearances left for John Cena. I cannot get there for what's being called the greatest of all time. I cannot get there. World championships, I can't even get there that he has the most world titles because, Ric Flair could, if you look back at enough records, you could probably see Ric Flair still in the 20s somewhere, but nobody seems to have the right answer on that. So WWE just made it, their own narrative on it, and calling him the greatest of all time. I can't get there, but no one can doubt what he has brought to the sport, what he's brought to the industry, as far as his achievement at being one of the most successful individuals of this century, John, in the state of pro wrestling. Your thoughts on John Cena basically are you a fan of John Cena before we really dive deep into what his legacy actually is?
When he first started in 2002, I did not like the character, did not like John Cena. I thought that he was kind of hokey. I didn't really dig the presentation. I actually got to see him at one of those Brian Pillman memorial shows when he was the prototype, and I thought that was just completely awful. Like, that was just terrible character. But over the years, I wouldn't say I like John Cena, but I respect the heck out of him. I would say that because he's gone out and done other things than WWE, right? He's been in movies, and these are movies. I mean, I forget the Amy Schumer film. I can't remember the title of it. Trainwreck, I think was the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, he starred in that. He starred in Blockers, which is a absolute, like, I saw previews for that movie and I thought that movie was going to be hot garbage, and I got talked into watching it, and it's really funny, and John Cena is super funny in it, all the way up to right now, Peacemaker. The guy's done that. He's again, to me, he has done so much great charity work that can't be overlooked. You cannot say that is not an important part of his legacy, because it is. I mean, I think he still holds the record for the most Make-A-Wish, right? I think I'm not 100% certain on that, but a few years ago he was the top of the top with that that nomination, if you will. Again, was he the best wrestler? No, he's not the best wrestler. All right, technically, but he's got that over the top personality. He's done well with what they've given him, and yeah, overall, I mean, I don't know what else to say about the guy. Is he one of the greatest of all time? I don't know. Maybe. It's hard to say. He definitely is probably the greatest of the modern era from that, say, 2006, 7 through to now. But I don't know. I think it remains to be seen. But I would say this: he's a top contender to being one of the greats of all time.
I'll say this when it comes to my thoughts on John Cena, as far as the rapper gimmick that he was given early on. Take it or leave it. It was based on exactly which area of the country he was in at the time. He would wear different jerseys and whatnot, and have the little, huge chains around his neck and all that. And I'll just say this: when it comes to John Cena, my thoughts on him are, as a draw, later in the last decade, I think that's when he really started to peak as a draw. When the industry started to recover a little bit. I know it started to fade at the end of the decade, but obviously got a boost coming out of COVID. I'll say that he was a big draw during the parts of the last decade, as far as I'm concerned, one of the biggest draws of this century. I still think that his legacy is going to be very complicated when it comes right down to it, because he was the top star at a time during the ruthless aggression era, where the business wasn't going in the right direction in the late 2000s, John. 2007, 2008, 2010, it wasn't going in the right direction. And we saw that reflective, and he was at the head of it. So I know that he was being always called into question in regards to it. So that being said, I really think that him as a worker is different from similar and different to Hulk Hogan, because he emulated Hulk Hogan as far as having a basic set of moves everybody's familiar with and that the crowd can get behind. But the fact he was willing to do more with his opponents, the fact that he was willing to put himself through more, the fact that he was really having good quality matches, during the US. He didn't have to go to Japan to have good matches, like we saw with Hulk Hogan. He really had to have just good opponents that were willing to work around the limited repertoire of what John could do. But what he would take, or what he would opponents would give him, he would be very much, expressive in doing so. Whether it was a Rikishi, which is an underrated feud, him and Rikishi, of course, Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, what have you. He really had some good matches because he was willing to go ahead and do things with his opponents that would allow him to do so. As a worker, I think he'll always be underrated, even though, again, he had a limited moveset, which he himself imposed into his wrestling style. But I think, again, it's a very complicated legacy when you consider what John Cena did in the ring. But to not say he's one of the biggest stars of this century, I think is dismissing something that's just not there. Whether the business was up or down, he was still at the forefront of it, and he has to be considered one of the greats of the century in doing so. Greatest of all time, no. There's 10 wrestlers I could probably put ahead of him with no problem. But as far as somebody in this century is one of the quintessential icons of this century, you would have to put him right there near the top. Him, Brock Lesnar, and maybe a couple others after that, as far as Okada. There's when he was with New Japan and really killing it there. There's just not too many that you could say really have defined this century. Roman Reigns, that's another. Cody Rhodes, now you probably may be able to put in that category, etc. So I just think when it comes right down to it, John Cena has defined this century, but as overall great, as overall goat, I don't think that's the case. But still, as someone as one of the greats of all time, top 25. Absolutely. Top 10, if you want to put him up there, that's up to you. But definitely put him there as probably one of the best of this century, so to speak. And that's what I think he should be known for as far as in the realms of pro wrestling. So I don't know if you concur with that or want to get some feedback on that.
I'm going to agree with you that I think the last 10 years has been his best work. I definitely will agree with that.
The early 2010s, I think, is really his best work in my opinion.
Yeah. Now, as for him, being the face of the company when things were going the opposite way, I'm not so sure that. I don't know what he was going to be able to do. I think that was a problem that was bigger than just John Cena. But that's just. But that's
like
opinion.
Roman Reigns at the latter half of the previous decade. He was the face of the company when they were going through a downhill cycle, 2015 to 2019, it as far as financially is concerned. So Roman Reigns will always have that attached to him. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock in, he was the champion during a down cycle. I don't know. I just feel like that's hard to predict that there's going to be a down cycle. I think that those are always reactionary. You can never be proactive to fend that off. I think it happens and you roll with the punches. But
then again, I mean, Hulk Hogan was one of the main reasons he was champion during one of the greatest periods in wrestling history, and he and Vince McMahon were the root cause of. You can't deny that. No matter if you're a fan or not a fan of those two individuals. You have to deny, you have to say that he helped put it on the map, and you have to look at when you look at up periods in wrestling and down periods in wrestling, you have to look at who were the faces for these companies during their those periods of time, and Roman Reigns was coming out of COVID, he was still the face of the company, but he was face of the company when it started to get really big again. John Cena, when it started to see some growth in the earlier part of the 2010s, he was the face of that as well. So, I mean, again, both have had their ups and downs, but you cannot deny their place and where they're at in this century.
That's true. And as I said last month, what would be a great way to celebrate this is to have Cena's last match. I don't know, live on NBC. I'll say it again.
I don't understand that. Why you just put that on Peacock? I think that's a major faux pas I would have gone, they have a good enough relationship with NBC
Mhm.
and Universal to say, you know what, this needs to go on NBC. I don't understand why you would put on Peacock. It just on Peacock. Maybe they will, they still have time to change it. So maybe they will before they head on out.
I hope they do, and I hope that they give me credit for being the person that's always hyping that up or being a thorn in their side. Come on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. John Orlando will get the credit. He'll be sitting there front row with a big smile on his face when it goes right and cut to NBC Saturday Night's main event right there for you. But I really think they should put that on NBC. You're right, in this last match. But I do like what I've seen from John with some of the choices that he's made outside the ring. Peacemaker, he's been really, really solid as far as his ability working with James Gunn. He has cashed in a paycheck from here and there, is what we've seen. And so is Rock. So is most of these wrestlers. Dave Bautista is you put a gun to my head, and please don't do so. But if you could put a chair to my head and say which one is the best wrestling actor, I would tell you right now it's Dave Bautista. But I think that even he's had some roles where he just looks like he's cashed in. So I would like to see those guys be more selective on their roles going forward. But I think John Cena can be one of the best of them. And I still think there's more yet to come on that end in Hollywood. So I'm excited to see he might be done in wrestling, although if he's not there in Saudi Arabia wrestling, then I'll believe that it's an actual retirement. Because as we know, Terry Funk said retirement 15,000 times, and we saw what happened there. So anytime a wrestler says they're retiring, I take it with a side eye. But we'll see what happens, my friend. But any last thoughts on John Cena before we move on?
No, I think I covered everything. Like I said, I think that he's important out of the ring just as much as he is in the ring again, because man, spending all of his time, which his time is expensive, to say the least, and taking time to go visit sick children. I mean, that's I give him a tip of the hat for that, and of course the crossover appeal on his other movie projects and whatnot. So those are my two big, I guess, points that I'd like to drive home when it comes to Cena.
Fair enough. And if you guys have any thoughts on John Cena, the legacy that he leaves behind, supposedly, because he's supposedly going to retire. Again, I have to wait to see it, but we'll see. If he is going to retire for good, by the end of this year. Your thoughts on John Cena, go ahead, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com, and also Matt Talk, and of course, the PVD cast out there as well. Give us a heads up in the comments what you think about John Cena and how he's affected you, and we'll never be able to say you can't see me again without thinking of him, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, it is a state of pro wrestling. It is Gerald Glassford, along with my good friend, Mr. John Orlando. No heat between us now. We put that betrayal in the past. Everything's good now. But wanted to go ahead and touch on something with both AEW and WWE, because I know we always go off on the booking by Tony Khan. I know we always go off and criticize or praise the booking of Triple H and whatnot. Right now, it's less praise, more criticizing. But even in the best of times, whereas the best of times or worst of times, when you have a large wrestling company, and you know this from behind the scenes, where even when you're even a smaller company, there's always someone thinking, or maybe there's always someone that is not as pushed as how they should be. Or to the reverse, there's someone that has a spot, the proverbial word in wrestling, has a spot that's maybe a little bit too high, or as they used to say back in the day, too big for their britches, as far as it's concerned. So you and I talked about doing one for AEW and WWE. It could be only one wrestler, it could be a tag team, or it could be more. I'm going to leave this up to you, my friend.
Okay.
So put some thoughts in it. We'll start with AEW first, because we always go WWE first and whatnot. AEW, what male, female, single, or tag team in AEW is criminally underrated for you? I'm going to put in the good first.
Okay, I was gonna say
before we get to the harsh.
You threw me for a loop there for a minute. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, okay. We're gonna go.
I know I put my notes overrated first, but let's get you with the underrated first.
Man, and I actually would have to double check this. I think he is still on the roster, but I think he's relegated to ROH. Underrated for me is Danhausen. I mean,
technically he is, but he is not being used by them and is mainly doing his YouTube channel, doing some indie appearances. And I think they're just waiting for the time because he had injury. So they've just did, the deal with AEW where they lengthen your contract based on the time you missed with injuries. So I have a feeling unless something changes, we're probably not going to see him again in AEW. But explain why. He's still there. He's still on the roster, technically. So why is Danhausen criminally underrated?
Because you want unique characters in pro wrestling. There's no one more unique than Danhausen. And look, yeah, is he the biggest guy? No. Is he the best wrestler? Okay, he's good. He's good. I don't know if he's the best, all right. But he's got that character and he's got a following that they just totally dropped the ball with him. I'm not saying that he should have been in the main events. I'm not saying that he should have been feuding with the Death Riders or anything like that. But he was something. He was the comedy that I think that you could plug in to backstage interviews, to things at ringside, to even in matches against the right opponent. I feel like they missed the boat on him tremendously, and it's a shame because he is a talented guy, and I'm a big fan of the character. I think the character's a breath of fresh air, if you will.
Okay, what do you think he could do in what that inevitable day? It's looking more and more like he's going to get released, quite frankly. And what do you think he can do for another company? Let's say the WWE, or if AAA, he mainly works there, or he just goes straight to CMLL. What do you think he can do going forward?
Ooh, well, I don't know if the WWE would be
because I don't know where he fits because he doesn't have a huge size. We've seen only glimpses of how much he can work in the ring. So I don't know. I just don't know when it comes to him, and I'd like to know more.
But here's the thing that we always talk about is that how many times do we mention, oh, this person's a great wrestler, but he's not very good on the mic? There's nothing wrong with being a manager. There's nothing wrong. In fact, it's a lost art as far as I'm concerned.
WWE is allergic to it.
Exactly. That's why I can't see Danhausen going to the WWE. Now, where that leaves him now, much like many other wrestlers, well, if you're not in the WWE and you're not in AEW, where are you? You're in kind of this weird purgatory, if you will, because sure, you could go to the NWA, but I mean, that's kind of not the biggest brightest spotlight is shown on that company. MLW, maybe I could see him going to MLW for a while and also be able to work some indies. But I think that this is a problem not only does Danhausen have, but many other wrestlers have, is to that question of where do you go?
That's the problem, because right now it's very limited. Once you leave AEW, and if you're not picked up by WWE, it's very limited on the, just where you go as far as to get viewed, to get noticed, to get seen. MLW has a very limited reach. I know that when you talk about some of the indies, like you said, GCW and some of the other indies have a very limited reach. NWA, despite what they'll tell you, has a very limited reach. It's just the fact of life that what happens, with a guy like Danhausen, who does have a lot of talent on the mic, but is he able to go ahead and incorporate that into a ring style, and can he stay healthy? Because that's part of could be part of the problem, is because his size, his sheer size, and he's working a lot of times with a lot bigger guys than him. it could just lead to a propensity more with injuries. But again, I wish him the best, and I think he's uniquely talented. And I agree with you that he's absolutely underrated. Is there anyone else on your list?
Well, real quickly, let me throw out one other thing about Danhausen. I mean, depending on, and I don't know because I haven't really researched it, but the working agreement with TNA and WWE, I could definitely see that TNA would be a great place for Danhausen to go. But the inner workings of WWE, and if they're not high on a talent, or they don't think a talent is worth it, what happens? Because I haven't read anywhere with, when that scenario pops up, what's the decision-making process? Like, do they go, oh, okay, we'll send them over to TNA for right now and out of sight, out of mind? Or are they saying, nope, this person doesn't have it of what we're looking for. Sorry about your luck. I mean, that's the other big question for all of professional wrestling. Like these different partnerships, even AAA and the WWE, what's the protocol for having talent signed or not signed?
Yeah, I agree with you. What is the protocol for it? And again, now that this TNA WWE partnership seems to be really in full blast, as we've seen in recent days. TNA the women's title is currently being held by a NXT contracted individual, and she, as far as Kalani Jordan, and she just beat Jordan Grace on NXT as we recorded this. So yeah, absolutely. We'll have to wait and see if that works. But I do agree with you when it comes to Danhausen. Is there any other underrated talents that you think are being underutilized in AEW?
No, because I think that the other one that I immediately came to mind, he was smart and he took the high road and left for NXT. I was going to say Ricky Starks. I think that he was criminally underused. He should have been in that top tier in the mix for the main event in the heavyweight title, because he had the personality, he had the work ethic, he had the look, and the fans were behind him. So for right now, I don't know if there's anyone else underrated that I can really think of in regards to AEW. I think I'm sticking with just Danhausen for this.
I mean, you and I could go all day on some of the wrestlers that they're not using right now, like Britt Baker. What's going on with that situation, or underutilizing? Like I would say underrated right now, MJF and the Hurt Business. But can you really say? I don't know what to say. What they're doing with them right now, because it really makes absolutely no sense to me. While you take two of your biggest drawing cards and relegate them to something less than what they need to be in order for your company to grow. But again, that's a bigger issue for another podcast, my friend, when you and I really go ahead and discuss that in detail. As far as underrated, I would probably reach a little bit farther. I'd probably say Queen Amanada is a name that I think a lot of people that would like to see her reach even another level. As far as that's concerned, I think she can. I've seen what I've seen. I've liked. I don't know if she'll ever get. I mean, she's truly trying a lot to get ahead of that stigma that she had when they had her lose, like in the earlier part of her career, just like every week she was losing, I'm like, okay, why you don't have her, make her more competitive? I don't know, but they finally decided to get on the train and make her more competitive. But is she going to be someone that's believable because of what happened in the past, becoming into a top wrestler for the ladies of AEW, which sorely needs it because it is pretty dry right now in the AE women's division right now. I mean, once you got the title belt off of Toni Storm and the Mercedes Moné, belt collector gimmick, with every local, like, I'm sure that, the local belt for the ladies belt, she might be coming for that pretty soon where you're at, John. So you got to watch out for that. But, whatever you think of that, it is what you think of it. it's just not really that presentable right now as far as the depth or quality that the AEW women's division has right now. Promoting and pushing a talent like Queen Aminata, I think might be in their best interest, but I don't know if the fans will get and support her enough because of what you did previously to her character.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think Tony Khan and many promoters don't get, is that, in the minds of fans, they remember, hey, this person's lost 4 times in a row. Why should we get behind them?
She didn't just lose 4 times in a row. She lost
I know what you mean. I know
dozens of times in a row. Yeah.
I know, because actually she is a Columbus gal. She trained not too far from my house,
Really?
actually. Yeah, at the Ohio. I never remember the OPWA. I can never remember what that stands for, but James Avery was the trainer out there, and she trained out there for a couple of years, and is super talented, really talented. And I think the thing that maybe would help, not only the fact that there's this incredible loss record with her, but showcasing her personality. I think that's the other thing that would certainly get her much more much more of a pop from the crowd, is if there's a little bit of more personality. Give her some more of those backstage interviews with Renee Paquette. Build that aspect to her, and I think that she could certainly be a top contender for the AEW Women's Championship, or the TBS champion, or we're getting women tag team titles. So, which is where I think that Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa, I think, are going to be heavily promoted in that tag team tournament.
Because they're not doing anything right now. They don't have any titles right now. They don't really have a feud right now. So, yeah, they have name credibility. So that's probably where it's leaning to. I hear you on that, my friend. Mina Shirakawa, I think, is a little bit underrated as well. Just to note that on there. But I would say Queen Aminata. There you go. I know a lot of people would say Sammy Guevara because he's been relegated to ROH, but I think that's a little bit of his own doing, as much as it is, the company's doing, pushing him over there as well. I don't know about the Von Erichs. I would like to see the Von Erichs get a spot, more in prime time to see if they can do it. I don't know. I just don't know. But, there are a lot of talent in ROH that you just don't know how good they can be because they're just not put into any type of spotlight. So you're just not sure how it could be. But they've got Thunder Rosa, they've got Britt Baker. They've been on the shelf for a while. The situation with Britt Baker, who knows what that it truly is. But I think she would be a candidate that would be right there to fill out some depth in the women's division, but again, you're not utilizing her for some reason, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one, my friend. But who is the criminally overrated, in your opinion, in AEW? Who? That list could be a mile long. So, but saying that be the case, who is the most criminally overrated in AEW right now?
Now I got 2 on this list: the Young Bucks and Orange Cassidy. I'm sorry, I've never understood Orange Cassidy. I don't get the character. I don't understand it. I don't understand the hands in the pocket thing. I just don't get it. And here's the thing: that is Tony Khan's fault, because he should have made it understood what that character was. Vignettes, backstage interviews, whatnot. Not just assume, oh, okay, here we go, we'll put him out there. Everybody will remember him from the indies, and that'll be... You can't do that if you want to build a company and you want to have, as we've talked about before with AEW, you want to have crossover appeal. You just don't want to cater to the wrestling fans. You got to cater to other people, casual fans. And that's the thing. And he's not the only one. I mean, Orange Cassidy's not the only one that they've done that to, but they've just assumed that everybody's going to know who this person is, and it's like, I don't get it. I don't understand the character. I just don't get it. The Young Bucks, I don't I don't dig their psychology or lack thereof. I don't believe that they can beat anybody because of their size. I'm sorry. They're not my cup of tea. And
they're not entertaining in any way.
No.
Their other stuff off the, basically, we have an old saying in Hollywood, what I used to be in, and Las Vegas, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And they've always known the right people when they were in All Japan, overseas, New Japan, overseas. They helped really get alive with Osprey and Styles and
Omega.
that whole era, Hot Topic T-shirts and all that stuff. They got that over, and more power to them for doing so. But does that leave them in the ring as someone that I think is going to be able to garner titles? No, I don't, because I don't believe that. They don't have a athletic enough style that I thought that was very appropriate for their size. They didn't wow me in any way, shape, or form. They're adequate wrestlers for their size. But did I think that they were actually going to be as successful as they were? Do I think they're Hall of Famers in Pro Wrestling Illustrated are deserving of it? No, not even close. I think they're a team that there's a reason why they didn't go to WWE. It's because they wouldn't see success in WWE to anywhere near the level that people that have seen them or big supporters of theirs would be happy about, because of just their size issues and the fact that they aren't athletically skilled enough that for their size that just wows people over. Even in the stuff that you're doing for in Rotunda for PWF, as far as they're concerned, they were having pretty good matches, really good matches, but it wasn't to the point where I said, wow, man, I'd love to see these guys on the WWE roster, because that there was just certain limitations that they had. And seeing them and seeing Orange Cassidy, especially in the early days of AEW being pushed, it was like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And I don't think I ever will. They're just not for me. And I'd throw in the Death Riders along with it, because the Death Riders has proven to be death for only the AEW TV ratings, my friend.
Well, yeah, look, as you're mentioning all this and you're giving your opinions, I'm running down a list of the overrated that are in
that's a long list when you come down.
Yes, it's a very long list indeed. Yes, I totally
which is
agree.
Part of the problem right there, which is because you talked about appealing to the hardcore fan base of AEW. I think right now, based on the numbers that you're seeing, that's who's watching it. There is no general or casual audience that they've grown upon it. There's just a hardcore AEW fan base. So if you want to know the number of people that are hardcore AEW fans, that number you see each and every week. That's it. There's no general audience that really catches them on a regular basis, which is what they weren't saying before, because before they were actually having a larger audience of general fans. And I think when you talk about the hardcore base versus the general audience and the general fan, you can clearly see what's happened with AEW and say, wow, I get it. What they've lost is the general fans, and what they have is the hardcores. Oh, but that again, that's for another day. I have to go ahead and stop with the rants. But yes, you said the overrated list in AEW is quite long.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So is it WWF time or WWE time, I should say? Okay.
Yes, it is WWE/F time. It's funny. It's weird how they have that agreement now with, because they get, WWF that they had to. I still, to this day, would have fought that with the World Wildlife Fund. Because nobody knows the World Wildlife Fund as a WWF. To this day, they still don't know them as a WWF. People say, older people like us, sorry, had to say that, know them as WWF. I've seen just general people, newscasters, still call it the WWF on the air, because it's just, again, that's another one that I can't. I would have argued that in court, absolutely, extensively. I'll just say that. But the WWE, my friend, who do you think is? Let's go with the bad first. Who do you think is criminally overrated in the WWE?
I got two on the list. The first one we've talked about ad nauseum about her, and that is Nia Jax. I think that she is very overrated. Her track record of maybe not being very safe in the ring also plays into that in my mind. Again, is it like the Young Bucks? Is it not what you know, but who you know? That is why she has a spot.
She is part of the lineage of
she
the
is.
Samoan tree.
I've never liked or appreciated the character. It just, to me, I don't know. There was just something about it. I think it's all those things that I just mentioned is the reason why I just don't have a lot of care about what happens to Nia Jax. And I assume that I haven't seen her recently. I assume she's just off TV or not injured again.
Yeah, because she had that one match, the triple threat match for the title, and I think she was pinned, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Tiffany Stratton, and that's what happened there. But yeah, she's off TV, I guess, for now. So anyone else as far as for criminally overrated?
Yeah, but see, this one I don't know if he's really overrated. I'm not a fan of JD McDonough. I don't get him. I don't understand. Like, I know he's got to
win over Sheamus.
Well, that's true, and I also know he's the Buddy Roberts of the crew of the new I can't think of their name, and I should Judgment Day. Jeez, I can't believe, how could I forget that? Yeah, I know that he's the Buddy Roberts of that group, but there's just, I don't know, there's something about him that I've never really been fired up to see JD McDonough in a match. Just, I don't know. There's something about him. Again, he's another one that's got that, he's a weird size. He's not super small, but yet he's not super big. He's kind of got that weird, like, body, I guess you could say. Like I said, to me, he's overrated in my book.
Overrated starts with me with someone who, I know we talked about this, but I just didn't understand why she was getting the push that she did at the time, right around WrestleMania. It's a little less now, but she just teamed up with, of course, Bayley for a tag team match, women's tag team match, but they just recently lost, and that's Lyra Valkyria. I don't get it. She does nothing for me. And with the wings, when she does that with the wings, comes out, it's just like, okay, that brings me back to those days of the bad 80s and 90s gimmicks that are out there. And that's just, you ask yourself when you're talking, okay, I get it, Lyra Valkyria, I know how that fits in, but we're gonna have you go out there with wings. How about that? And that's just like, I'm thinking about that, and I'm just like, I don't want to say it's this Red Rooster level that's gonna stay with you, but it just, the wings, you come out there with why? Why? It just, I understand that it's basically about they're a Valkyria. It's you put it in there, that type of thing. I just don't get it, because I don't see, nothing about her screams anything but meh. It just, she doesn't get the crowd going. Her work is okay, but not great. It's nothing inspires, nothing pops out when it comes to her. When I watch her, and it's not a detriment to her, but it's just nothing that pops out. And so I'm thinking that how, maybe it's because she was with NXT for a period of time. They said, we're going to put you on the main roster and see what happens there. And I don't know. I honestly don't know what they have plans for her on, because she's very difficult to program for, because she doesn't get the fans behind her. And I don't know if she turns heel, if she'll have the fans really hating her as well, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And
what is death in pro wrestling, my friend? What's the worst thing that can happen in pro wrestling?
There's no reaction at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So your thoughts on Lyra Valkyria, Mark?
Yeah, that's a very good pick, because we've talked about her before on the show, and yeah, she's missing something. She needs to go back down to NXT and work some more on some of those issues. Like her ring work, again, it's okay, but it could be better. Promos, I mean, some of her backstage stuff with Bayley was not very good. So that's a good selection. That's a good pick.
I think for the men, I don't know. Aleister Black. I've never been given a push, so I can't really say he's been overrated. I would maybe say, I don't know. There's a long line of individuals that I think that maybe I'd say, man, I don't think I'd push them as high as I would, or maybe there's some that you could say otherwise. There is a lot that you can say otherwise. I'm probably just gonna say Damian Priest, because again, he is more athletic. He does can work at a high level when he wants to, like in some of the big matches that he had when he was a champion or battling for the title. I just don't think he inspires a lot of people as far as gets people behind him. As far as a general fan base, I know that in the New York area where he's from, definitely he has a lot of people supporting him there. But I just don't see him at these days. Right now, he's in a blah level as far as where he's at right now. He's blah. I mean, no, turn heel again. Okay. All right. That maybe that's coming up in his future. But does that really excite you on what he's doing? They have to find some really creative things for him to get me more inspired in watching.
Well, I will say this. I was not a fan of him 10 years ago when I saw him in Ring of Honor. I was not a fan. So the fact that he has morphed, changed, got with the program, had various different versions of his character. I think this is the best character out of Damian Priest. I think that, he was feuding with Drew McIntyre, which was fine. That was okay. But I think they need to find a really good opponent for him. I think that's the issue with him. He needs a really good opponent to help him out and to make things more interesting. So now, like a Bronson Reed and Damian Priest, that would be a match that would get me interested. Rematches with Gunther, even though I know he's out with an injury right now, would get me interested. But just having him take on other mid-card guys, it doesn't do anything for me.
So your thoughts, though, now when it goes to the underrated, who are the criminally underrated in your opinion in the WWE?
Well, the first one I'm going to mention is in NXT. I think Ren Sinclair is very underrated. I liked her a lot when she was on the Indies and working a lot of NWA, and I thought she had great personality, great character. And they've kind of brought that over. She's pretty much the same character she was on the Indies. But I really think that she's underrated. I think she's going to do big things in the WWE. So I think she's definitely underrated. The other one that I would have said is now gone. I would have said Karrion Kross, because he has been very much underutilized in the WWE. And then I guess maybe my other one that I would throw out there that's underrated is I would throw out there Dragon Lee. I think that I think people sleep on him and just lump. This is gonna sound weird. I know people you'll be like scratching your head going, John, what are you talking about? I think it gets lumped in with all the other cruiserweights, and I think that if you're trying to push him as like the standout, the Rey Mysterio of this group, get him away from some of the other luchadors. All right. He doesn't have to have matches, with Penta and with Phoenix and with all the other guys. Like, I just feel like he should be on his own. Does that make sense? Or am I just,
No, that's absolutely makes sense. But right now he's tag team with AJ Styles, I believe, and they just won the Raw tag team titles. So maybe something will come out of that.
Maybe
as far as putting him at a different level. Indeed. My underrated is just going to be one. And, I know we've talked about before about Sami Zayn many times, and that he should have had a run. So I know he'll always be criminally underrated to a lot of people. But L.A. Knight, they missed the boat. I think there's somebody, whether it's Triple H or just somebody there in WWE that says we're only going to put him at. Doesn't matter how popular he is. Doesn't matter how many shirts he sells. Doesn't matter how much he sells at, as far as memorabilia. We're just not going to give him at the top title, and we're going to make him lose all year long. Outside of that victory against Seth Rollins, we're just going to have him lose all year long. He just recently lost to Braun Breaker. Again, Braun Breaker needs the push right now, and no one can argue with that. But I would have found a way to give LA Knight a title run and really capitalize on the crowd, just the pops, just the crowd interest that they have for LA Knight. I really liked the way he has been able to really get his gimmick going, whether you want to compare it to The Rock or not. I just think LA Knight is the most criminally underrated individual right now. Sami Zayn aside, because Sami Zayn has always been underrated, and I think that just will go throughout the rest of his career. But I do think LA Knight is probably the individual that you could still somehow, despite losing the entire year, John, could still put in a title today and have the company get some really good buzz off of it.
Yeah, I agree, and I can't believe I didn't put him on my list. And but yeah, I mean, definitely they have misused him. They have tweaked things with him that didn't need tweaked. I mean, he had that short stint where he was kind of an in-between character. He wasn't a heel, wasn't a baby face. That was awful. Yeah, they have to decide what they're doing with him. I can't imagine that when it comes time for contract renewal that they're going to renew his contract. I don't know. Just to me, it seems like nobody cares about him, and they should, because you're right. He is massively over, and is he still, from what you said, he's still pretty high up on the merchandise sales, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned Karrion Kross earlier on underrated. That's another faux pas for Khan to not brack up the Brinks trunk and bring him over when he was just leaving SummerSlam and started to work some indie dates. I would have immediately jumped all over that. There was a gift handed by the WWE and they blew it as well. So we'll just leave it at that. But if you guys have out there who's criminally overrated and underrated in both the AEW and WWE, let us know. PVD Cast, Matt Talk, and of course, also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and put this in here real quick. Vinnie Mac's 80th birthday came and went. It's strange how Linda McMahon was not there. I'll just leave it at that. Wonder why that was. But he had a whole, travel 2-day thing over a weekend period as far as some itinerary things that he had that you did all over New York City. Leading to some special events. He sent you a bust of himself if you went to his party. What surprised you the most about Vinnie Mac's 80th birthday?
Oh, I think you hit the nail on the head. A bust of Vince McMahon. Who wants that? I mean, wasn't there a bunch of other things like no cell phones?
Yes. No cell phones. Yep. I mean, people were taking pictures of him anyways. I don't get it. I don't understand what the deal was. It's just,
yeah. And who Cena was there, The Undertaker, The Miz. Linda
McMahon was not there.
Linda was not there.
I don't think Stephanie was there either. If I remember.
No, because Shane was there. Because that's what made me go, huh? Shane was there. I don't know. I think the weirdest thing is you have made a bust of yourself and you've made 100 of them and you've given them to people as a gift. That if that's not a narcissist by textbook definition, I don't know what it is, Gerald.
Before we head out, my friend, you just reached again your 500th episode of the PVD Cast, and you made it a very special one for professional wrestling fans out there. Please, before we hit some quick Survivor Series memories before we head out, your thoughts on what you did with your 500th episode. And again, congratulations, my friend.
Well, thank you. And for those that don't know, if you haven't checked it out, I had the opportunity in September to sit down at the Monroe Comic Con in Monroe, Michigan, and talk to WWE Hall of Famer Sergeant Slaughter, the Man Beast Rhino, and of course the franchise Shane Douglas. We did a panel together. So that was going to be my big guest for episode 500. And it was awesome. It was incredibly awesome for me because Sergeant Slaughter, G.I. Joe, WWF, AWA, like that's my childhood, like wrapped up in a neat little present. So the opportunity to talk to Sarge and to hear some of the cool stories he had was awesome. And of course, Rhino, I've talked to him before. He's fantastic. And this franchise, Shane Douglas, also was awesome. And man, I will say this: I learned that Shane does like to talk. Though I went over to talk to him just real briefly and make sure that he was cool with everything. And 20 minutes later, I left. So, but yeah. So check out PVDcast 500. It's available over at pvdcast.com or wherever you find great podcasts. And thanks for everybody who's ever checked out an episode. Thank you for those who have supported the podcast. Thanks to all the guests who have taken time out of their schedule to sit down and chat with me. Just a big thank you to everyone.
Before we head out, before we hear some Survivor Series memories from you, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and touch on real quick some updates health-wise. I know there's been some conflicting reports back and forth, but Mike Rotunda did have a heart attack in September. He is not in hospice care, but he is in a facility to take care of his long-term health. He did, I guess, fell into a coma right after it, but he is in recovery right now. Abdullah the Butcher, one of my all-time favorites, he had 2 strokes. He's still hospitalized as of this point in time, as of this recording. I do want to mention, if either one passes, hopefully if we will try to present their career in detail on a future episode as well. But hopefully we won't have to, because hopefully they'll hang around with us as well. But John, any thoughts on those 2 real quick before we get to some Survivor Series memories?
Just that, it's shocking when you think of Abdullah the Butcher as the character. Like, you would think he's unstoppable. So health concerns never really would cross my mind. And Mike Rotunda, 67, is way too young for a heart attack and to be in bad shape. So hopefully those 2, they kick out, as Ric Flair said when he had his health issues. Hopefully they kick out and we have them around for a little bit longer.
John, it's been a great episode. Absolutely. I hope they come out through this okay. Survivor Series will take place next month. It's not the same as what it once was. Again, it's War Games now. They added some different stuff. The traditional 4 or 5 man teams are it's kind of different the way they're out. Sometimes they'll go back to it, sometimes they won't. But any big Survivor Series memories before we head on out?
Yes, every Thanksgiving, when we had Thanksgiving at my house, I had a countdown. Like we had a chalkboard. I had a chalkboard as a kid that was affixed to the side of the kitchen, and I would run over every hour and go, in Survivor Series in 3 hours. I would erase it and put 2 hours, and that was my little thing that I did. Didn't get to see too many of those Survivor Series. I got to see a couple of them because I had a cousin that had a satellite dish. That's going way back. And so we could pull in the pay-per-views that way. And so I didn't get to see too many of them live, other than those couple that I saw with my cousin. But always fun to do the countdown. And my family kind of started to poke fun a little bit at it, but it was all good. It was all good,
I mean, outside the major matchups, again, most of those matchups, when it comes down to the Survivor Series, weren't that actually good, because it just seemed like, people were there. Some of the guys had to do jobs within like a minute or 2 just to get out of the way. So they had, trying to build drama for whoever 5-on-1 or 3-on-1 or whatever they wanted to set up. It did provide us with the anointing, first off, of Undertaker becoming champion against Hulk Hogan, which they took away from him 5 days later, I think, or something like that, at Tuesday in Texas, which we'll remind everyone of that. That will go down in history for those reasons. But last but not least, my memories of the Survivor Series, the gobbledygooker. And I'll leave you with
that. Well done.
So we are tagging out for now, but if you have any questions for us or comments, please go ahead and leave it below on YouTube, below on Facebook, also as well the PVD Cast. But go ahead and check out the PVD Cast, the Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, and of course, each and every month on the State of Pro Wrestling. Cannot thank you enough for supporting us. It is my tag team partner, John Orlando, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Truly appreciate you joining us. Hoping you'll stop by next month and catch all of our shows right here. But don't miss us. Don't miss us at all anytime we stop back in and head into the ring right here on the State of Pro Wrestling from the PVD Cast, Matt Talk, and the Pop Culture Cosmos. Ding, ding, ding!
It's time for the State of Pro Wrestling, scheduled for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. And now, from parts unknown, your tag team champions of the world, John Orlando for the PVD Cast and Gerald Glassford from the Pop Culture Cosmos.